So
Hmm.
level one was being able to walk again and not use a walker or a cane, and that's going great.
Hmm.
Level two is getting like my arm and like writing again and doing all my functions that I normally do. Level three would be working on getting back to me, repairing those friendships, relationships that kind of suffered and move on from there, and then get back to me and what makes me happy.
This is the Recovery After Stroke podcast with Bill Gassiamis, helping you navigate recovery after stroke.
Hello and welcome to episode 258 of the Recovery After Stroke podcast. In today's interview, I'm joined by Melvin Milton, who experienced a cerebrovascular accident, CVA, which is just another name for an ischemic stroke. All right, Melvin Milton, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We took a long time to get here. Some of the
Yes,
things
we did.
some of the things that delayed us getting together and chatting are very familiar to me. And one of the things that I think was happening, and you'll tell me in a minute if it's true, is I think that you're having some trouble with calendar appointments and kind of registering them in your head that you have an appointment coming up in the next however long. Because I used to write them down, I used to have reminders, and I still
Right,
make my appointments when I was going through rehabilitation after brain surgery. Is that familiar?
right. It's very familiar. It's people are like, well, you should write it down. I'm like, I can't write it down just yet because my hand is still, well, you should put it in your calendar. Like, well, typing is a lot. Well, you should so it's gotten better over time, but for example, with us meeting, it's some do fall through the cracks. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what happened to you?
Ooh. So July, it's almost year two right now of 2021.
Mhm.
Yeah. I suffered a left, I'm gonna mess this up. I hope not. A left CVA with a right hip.
A left CVA
Uh-huh. With
with
a
a,
right hip.
okay, tell me about that. What is that?
That's what my doctor,
Said to you.
he said cerebral vascular accident.
Yep.
That's what he said. Now, I just found this out because I haven't really wanted to kind of explore in depth what happened. I'm my first priority is to get better, and then I'll,
Work
the
it out.
second step is to find out, and the third step is to kind of help others, um if it happens to, which I hope not, and
Mm,
if it
mm.
does happen to. So
Okay, I love it. So actually, according to Google, if I type CVA into Google
okay.
and you get results from a website called healthline.com, it says
Health mind.
CVA is the medical term for a stroke. Sounds like a special way to
Okay.
say stroke.
I don't know why you just didn't say stroke, but okay.
So, okay, you've had a stroke. So,
Right.
on the day of the stroke,
Hmm.
what did you notice? How did you realize there was something wrong?
So that day it's still um really blurry. And I try to think about it, and it's coming back to me, as we go on, but I still don't remember. I remember um that day I wasn't so I had been doing a lot of traveling. Um I went to Michigan, um, Boston, in Denver, Colorado, in like 3 weeks, in the span of 3 weeks. Then I came back home, which is Hawaii. Then I flew back out to go to Vegas. So that was just a lot of, like post-pandemic, I just wanted to travel and get out.
Mhm.
So that whole thing it's still kind of blurry, but I just remember working and really not feeling well. Like, so I went home early and then I woke up and I went to the bathroom and I, vomited and I just did not feel good. But then I woke up and my leg couldn't move. And I was, I just thought I'm a really wild sleeper. So I just paid it to like, oh, I just slept on it the wrong way. It should come back.
Mm.
And so I went to the bathroom and I was just kind of like nauseated and just, I lost my bearings and I fell and I crawled back to bed and I was just like, well, maybe if I lay down, I will feel better, you know. But then I woke up and still nauseated and still vomiting and then I was like, uh-oh, I'm not, this isn't normal. So I called a couple of friends and then finally one answered. And, like by this point, I'm getting worse, as they call it, like, like not as, I'm not making sense.
Mm.
And she said, I think you're having a stroke. She's like, where do you live? I had just moved into an apartment about a month ago, so I didn't really know. And I didn't know, especially at that point.
Wow.
And that's all that I remember. And then I woke up and just like flashes. And so I stayed in, let's see, the ICU for about a month. And then I moved out and I was just in the regular part of the hospital. Then I was in inpatient rehab for about a month. And then I went home. So
Mhm.
that's my story in the gist.
Yeah, understand. And when you went home, what sort of deficits did you go home with? What did you have to learn
Ooh,
how to do
so
again?
that was, so when I went, well, let me just back up and say that when, I was in the ICU, the doctors don't want to, you know, they don't kind of, they go give you worst case scenario.
Mhm.
And so they were like, well, he's not going to walk again and he's not going to do this and do that. And so my family and I, we were trying to make, like preparations to, get all these, because I'm in Hawaii, with no family. They live, on the mainland.
Mm.
And so it was, we had to make some adjustments. And so when I went home, I couldn't um like shower by myself. I couldn't stand. I couldn't, do any normal function really. So I had a walker then. So I couldn't cook, clean, do anything,
Wow.
basically,
Did you have any help at home? Did they manage to
I
get you
did have
someone?
I did have help. My family for the first part came down and took care of me, my sister, my dad, and my aunt Terry.
Mhm.
And then I had tons of friends that I'm so thankful for. I want to give them a good shout out. Like they all, took time and made a schedule and came and brought me the things that I needed and some things that the doctor said I couldn't have, like peanut M&Ms. But I'm so I'm so thankful for. So it was a group effort to get me where I am today, and I'm just totally thankful.
Yeah. M&Ms were probably not recommended by your doctors for your physical health, but it sounds like they were necessary for your emotional health.
Thank you. See, nobody gets that, but thank you. I needed that to cope. I was going through, like, here I am, so independent, and have been, all my life, and having to, depend on people. It was
Mm,
it was a emotional toll.
yeah.
And I think one thing that I want to touch on, I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but I think that, like, my brain was just like going through a whirlwind of happiness, sadness, like,
Mm,
confusion, so it was a lot to kind of, you know, uh, understand.
yeah. Roller coaster. It's
Yeah, for
how
sure.
how people describe it. How old were you at the time?
35.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
35, everything's going well for 35 years pretty much. And then
Yeah.
you have to deal with
Hmm.
all
All
of
of
the
that.
drama of having a brain that has been injured by something that's out of your control, and you
Hmm.
have to come to terms with that emotionally, mentally, physically,
Hmm.
and you have to do it. It's very rapid. It's not like you get warning and you get time to plan for it.
Right. You have to, like, roll with it, and I think that, like, some some people, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well, like, some people, didn't quite understand, like, well, why is he mean, or why is he this, and why am I lashing out? Was it's not it's I had a brain, I had three. So, and I didn't have one brain surgery, I had three.
Right.
And so it was just a lot. Like, I was just like a whirlwind of emotions, and I don't think people quite understand how all that goes. Like, it made me way more emotional, and just more understanding to people now, because you never know what they may be going through.
Yeah, it's so eye-opening. I was 37, so I was
Mhm.
angry and emotional
Yeah.
and not myself. And
Right.
yeah, people were dealing with my illness as well. So they thought, oh my gosh, this guy's unwell. They thought, oh my, he might die. What does this
Right.
mean for his future, for our future? And then why is he screaming at me? And why did he get upset at
Right.
the wrong ice cream?
Like, I'm so, like, I so happy that you brought that up, because, like, I had a falling out with a family member um during last year's Thanksgiving, and just like, I just got overwhelmed with being surrounded with, so here I am, you know mostly by myself with the first part of my recovery. And then I'm going out of town to meet with my family. I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. I'm emotional, and I just lashed out on one of my family members, and it just turned into this big, like, this big thing.
Mm,
And so, like, and we're still not speaking right now, but it wasn't me.
yeah.
Looking back over it, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like, I'm looking back over it, and I wouldn't get upset about, that, but it was just a lot.
Yeah. It's a thing, right? People are dealing with how they have to cope with what happened to you.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's confronting for them, It makes
Mhm.
them maybe think about their own mortality, their
Oh,
own health and well-being. It makes them think about
okay.
their lifespan and all that kind of stuff, maybe. And then they go, all right, I know what I can do is I can go and help Melvin out, and I can go and do some things for him and be nice and do all that stuff. And then he speaks to me like that. Who would do that? Why would he speak to me like that? And then, they might take it personally and think that you're having a personal attack at them. But what
It's
they
not
don't know
personal.
is that everything is muddled up in your head, and stroke messes things up, and it takes a while for the things to
Yes,
recalibrate and settle
it
down.
does. Mm-hmm. It
And
really does.
the only thing we can do, which I did a lot of, was
Yeah,
apologize. Apologize. Oh man, I just
yeah,
apologized a lot.
yeah. And then, so like I was reading, all about you and the things, and one of the things that stuck out, like when you were saying that you were, not so nice and da da da, like that, like it really went home because I've had those episodes where I don't like certain family members I'm like that I'm really close to and I really love so much, like they're not, talking to me right now because of, an episode that I don't, to be honest, I don't even remember.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
That's the part about it. Or like some certain friends, like I don't even remember. Like, like and 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 I want to have these conversations. I want to, be able to clear the air and move forward.
Yeah,
But, how can I say like I don't remember when in my mind they're probably like he's just probably saying that, but I really don't.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that something, bad happened or some words that weren't so nice that were, shed, but I don't remember the basis of the argument, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Yep. I found myself in lots of arguments that I had no idea what they were about. I was angry a week later and I still didn't know why I was angry.
Right, right,
So
right.
silly. But then all we can do is our part. So you've recognized that you you may not remember that behavior. You've done it. They've told you
Hmm.
you've done it. So you may as well believe them. And then
Oh,
you can apologize for it. And then you can go, the rest is up to you now. If you feel it in your
okay,
heart to forgive me, that's fine. It's up to you though. I can't control that. And
right.
you know, it's a
But
tough thing.
like the thing that, like I wish, like people say, like I said before, that they understand, but I wish that they kind of could, get a glimpse
Mm,
of how our brains are programmed, and we have to work really hard to get it back to normal,
yeah, yeah.
like I've been working my butt off to, get back, and I'm reading and watching podcasts and various Facebook groups
Mm,
and therapy, and so I'm doing my part, but I wish that like people would really give stroke victims a little bit more leniency
mm.
and benefit of the doubt.
That's excellent what you just said, leniency and benefit of the doubt. I mean, we could all practice that when it comes to those people who we come across in the shopping mall, in the bus, in the
Yeah,
wherever. We could
wherever.
all do that,
Shopping during Christmas, yeah.
yeah, yeah, during the crazy season, right? We could
Yes.
all give people some leniency and benefit of the
Hmm.
doubt. And
Hmm.
if we did that for them and they did that for us, that would make
Right.
life so much easier, because it means that
It would.
we can make mistakes, and those mistakes don't have to be the end of the earth. They just have to be
Mhm.
mistakes that we recalibrate from and learn from and move on from,
Right.
and overcome, rather than take to the grave. I mean, it's just not worth it.
It's not. It's not. So, um, so I like to, so what I've kind of done for myself, I'm calling it the levels of getting back to me.
Hmm.
So I'm on level
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
2-ish, 3-ish. So
Mhm.
level 1 was, getting being able to walk again and not use a walker or a cane, and that's going great.
Mhm.
Level 2 is, like just getting like my arm and like writing again and doing all my functions that I normally do.
Mhm.
And then, like level 3 level 3 would be, working on getting back to me, repairing those friendships, relationships that, have kind of, suffered and
Mm.
and move on from there, and then really like get back to me and what makes me happy. Like for example, I love traveling. I love to work and I want to, get back to that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Great goals. What kind of work were you doing?
so I was currently working 2 jobs. The first job, I've been working at the Sheraton Waikiki in Honolulu. I've been there for since 2011. It's quite a while. And my second job, I'm an event coordinator at our local, how would I say, event venue. So we do concerts and things like that. So definitely like 2 high pace jobs where I need to, be on my feet and kind of, be level headed and so I'm working really hard and actually um I'm going back to my event planning job really soon. So hopefully I'm shooting for this year to go back to that.
Yeah. I love Hawaii. I've been to Waikiki.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and we stayed somewhere near the Sheraton, I imagine. I can't remember where
Okay.
exactly we stayed.
Did you come into this place called Rumfire ever?
Uh I can't recall that,
Okay.
but
But that's where I work. So
yeah, it's such a
if you
beautiful
come
part
in
part
for a
of Hawaii.
Mai Tai or something, I probably served you.
Yeah, right. Okay. Amazing, amazing. So we spent time at uh near that pink hotel. What's that pink hotel that's there?
Oh, the Royal Hawaiian, which is next
Yeah.
door to the Sheraton. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So
So
we
that's
spent
our
time there.
sister hotel.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Mhm.
So we did spend time there, but we didn't do a lot of the bar time with in bars and places like that because we had the kids with us.
Oh, okay, okay.
And they were both under the age of 16 at the time. So it wouldn't have been
Oh,
appropriate, you see.
no,
um
not yet.
and when we were there, I remember when we were there on the main road, they did a block party for the
Yep.
NFL and
Hmm.
they shut down the entire road down there and there was just people
So Kalakaua,
everywhere.
they
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that. They just brought those back this year, and so they do it the second Saturday of the month.
Uh-huh.
So you just walk down the street and grab some food and
That's it.
grab some drinks and presents for everyone. Yeah, that was one of the things that I really enjoyed doing um when I first, got out of the hospital, was to walk,
Hmm.
as far as I could.
Yep.
Just to be, because I had been away from, no, I call it the real life or normal things or people. So that I was able to, walk and, purchase things and, say hi to people I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
So, that was really, really good for me.
I imagine the community in that in that industry is very tight knit. There'd be everyone would
Hmm.
know you and you would know everybody.
Correct. Everyone was, and still is like checking on me and calling, like my coworkers were, are so amazing. Like they, you know, gave um gave me, gifts, and they bought me, blankets for the hospital and the snacks and the M&Ms that I wasn't supposed to have. And
Yeah.
when my family came to, help me out, they took them around. They were just, God sent angels. So
Yeah.
I want to thank all of my friends and coworkers for helping me out, in so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. So now the aim is to get back to both your jobs, or is it just to get back to one of them at this stage? And how far off do you feel you might be?
You know, I don't ever, as of right now, because I could change my mind.
Mm,
I don't ever feel like I want to work two jobs again. I mean,
uh-huh.
I know I loved it because I could take off one hat and put on another hat, and like one job is not as serious, and one job I am the boss, so I have to be a little bit more serious. But I'm just gonna go with the flow and and see how they which one I like the best, and then just pick one, or maybe even another one in the future.
Yeah.
But hopefully, um I'll be back to work. Ooh, hopefully this month.
Okay. Yeah. Best of luck with
And
that.
it's gonna be very slow. It's not gonna be 40 hours a week. It's gonna be, like one or 2 days a week for, 3 or 4 hours, just to slowly get back into it.
So, when you were working two jobs, how many hours a week were you doing?
Probably like 50, 55 hours a week.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Did you do that out of necessity? Did you do that out of just the fact that you had time to do it? What was the thinking behind it?
I I did it for a couple of reasons. Um, because my original plan was only to be in Hawaii for 2.5 years, and that's how long it took to get my master's.
Uh-huh.
But I found this job at the Sheraton, and the benefits and the money, the people. I was having a lot of fun post graduation, and I kind of just stuck with it. And then I got this other job as an event, manager, where it's more, you know, in my field, what I went to school for, and I love doing it. So I kind of did it for money and because I needed to work in my field,
Uh-huh.
you
And
know,
your master's was in which field?
in the event
Uh-huh.
planning, social media marketing. Mhm.
I see. Okay. So it was all linked. There was all legitimate reasons. You were supporting yourself through
Right.
college and all the things that you needed to do. So it sounded like you were going about it the right
Mhm.
way.
And definitely, I'm not gonna, you know, not highlight this, but definitely because the money was good and I wasn't tired
Mm,
and I was able to travel and shop and do everything I wanted to do. So
yeah.
and it wasn't, it when I went to work, it wasn't like I was, like doing this. I'm so tired. I'm like, I was, in a great mood, happy to be there.
Yes.
I'm gonna see what adventures I can, do next. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel like now that maybe you were neglecting your health or anything? Do you think there was anything causing that, underlying, that may have, I don't know, contributed to your stroke?
I definitely think I neglected um taking care of myself. For example, my doctor prescribed me, blood pressure medicine, but of course I took it, but I hated the way it made me feel.
Mm,
Um, I hated that, I felt I didn't feel like myself. I felt, kind of control, and it kind of brought me back to my childhood where I was um prescribed ADHD medicine, and
uh-huh.
and that medicine kind of brought me back to my childhood where I felt controlled. I felt, tired, like, oh, I wasn't myself. And so me being the, self-proclaimed doctor, well, I don't need it. I feel fine. I'm gonna stop taking it. And
Uh-huh.
and then that happened. But seeing that happened, now it taught me a valuable lesson that, hey, if it's not working, if it's not quite right, go back and let them change it. And so that taught me a valuable lesson, like the minute, I'm not feeling so great, I'm going, you
What's
know.
Yeah, that's a great lesson to learn. What's interesting, I've never heard somebody say that blood pressure medication made them feel different or not themselves. So is that a
Mhm.
common thing, do you know? Or, because I've never heard that.
You know, I've talked to people that, you know, are on blood pressure medicines, and I've talked to a few and they don't have any, side effects, if you will. But I've
Mm,
talked to one or two and they have said that, they feel a little off, or, something isn't like I don't have full energy,
mhm.
and then I was talking to someone and somebody was like, well, maybe, the blood pressure medicine was making you feel normal. I had been running off of, not the medicine,
Ah,
and then that was bringing me, so that could have been the case too.
okay. So I did a
Mhm.
quick search about blood pressure medication making people feel strange. And it says, are they called alpha blockers? Reduce nerve impulses to blood vessels, allowing blood to flow more easily. These
Mm.
medications may cause dizziness, lightheadedness, or weakness when standing up suddenly or getting up in the morning. Does that ring a bell? Did you have any of those experiences?
So, yeah, a lot of them, like in the morning, like just like this it mornings are already, you know, sometimes not the best, like not pleasant, but it was definitely some days of struggle. And then went right after I would, eat something and take my medicine, I would get nauseous and
Hmm.
lightheaded. So,
So that,
but but looking back over it, like I said before, like it's one of those things where, that was happening, and it's happened since then. And I've gone back to the doctor, and he said, "Oh well, we'll prescribe you this one. This one is better, and it's better." So,
uh-huh.
what I want to tell anybody that will listen to this is, that if you're taking medicine and you don't feel so great, go back and ask for a different dosage or different, type of medicine, until
Yeah.
you get it right.
Yeah. Absolutely. I hear so many stories of people who have stopped taking their medication for one thing or another, and
Hmm.
they've had a brain hemorrhage or a stroke or something like that.
Right.
It's not nice to hear, but it's common. It's
It's
very common.
common.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you do hear about it, especially when you described it like if people kind of get it in their head, this is not making me better, this is making me feel worse, and
Right.
therefore I'm going to self-diagnose it and not go and see my GP and not get professional advice on that. Yeah.
That was me. The self. I'm okay. I was a nurse. I was a doctor. Like I'm. No, I'm okay. I don't need it now.
Yeah.
And then I was Google is so good and so bad because it kind of aids us self-proclaimed nurses and doctors.
Hmm.
Oh well, I can just take some apple cider vinegar in the morning and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, but it's way more than that.
Yeah. It's deeper. It's more
Yeah.
complicated. We're all unique.
Uh-huh.
And my recommendation to you might not be suitable at all. And that
Hmm.
might be the same thing for the next person. And it might help the other person a little, but we're just so
But
unique and so different.
right. And nobody knows you. What I've learned too is that nobody knows you more than your doctor, especially if you have a rapport with them and you've been seeing him or her for a while.
Mm,
They know, like, what to give you.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So are you fully independent now? Do you live at home alone?
I I was living at home alone, but Waikiki is getting so expensive now. So I wanted to, and then I'm not working, those two jobs, so the income is not coming in like it used to.
Uh-huh.
So I moved into a house with two of my friends. I work with one of them, and the other one is her brother. So it I have help if I need it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, so my insurance, and I just found this out this week because I was so lost because, when I call it woke up, I had so many different things put in place, but my insurance company um is covering a housekeeper to help me with chores. So like things that I can't do with both of my hands, for example, ironing or washing dishes and like I do try to, or making the bed, but I do try to do it, but then I'll, I'm sure this all too well, get lightheaded and so
Mm,
fatigued, and then I'm just like, then my arm starts to like spaz, and
yeah.
it's a chore, but I've gotten so much better. Like looking back at it, I couldn't even. I had to have a health aide come in and help me shower. But now I'm showering by myself. I still need a shower chair because I can't stand up
Mm,
that long, and I don't want to
mm-hmm.
slip and make
Mm-hmm.
matters worse. But
Mm-hmm.
I have like come a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good to reflect on that. It's so good.
Hmm.
I'm glad that you're noticing that. Um, Stroke is very ADHD, isn't it? Like you start a lot of things that you can't finish, and then you need to get distracted and move on.
That is, like I never thought of that, but that is a great way to describe it because like like I'll start, like for example today I wanted to, I woke up and I had a lot of energy, in a great mood. I'm like, I'm gonna clean the bathroom. So I was, cleaning the bathroom, then I get like lightheaded and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna lay down. So I started the bathroom. I'm about 90% done. I'll finish it after this after this Zoom. But
Yeah.
you're right. Like I start a lot of stuff that I just can't finish.
And it's not because of your attention is deficient that you
Or
can't,
I'm or I'm lazy. It's
or
just
it's not none of those. And
no.
it's not because you can't, because you get distracted by something bigger or brighter or better. It's a little bit different. It's because fatigue kicks in, um,
Hmm.
tiredness kicks in, whatever kicks in, and you have to literally sit down and lay down and
Yeah.
rest until you feel better and well enough to do that. But
I think
I
I
remember
I
being in that
talk
situation.
I talk to my grandmother a lot. She's 93, and she's really excited about us doing this, and she's gonna be watching when it airs. But she tells me, like you said, to do a little bit at a time, like rest and get back to it. So that's what I kind of do. When I get these bursts of, I call it burst of energy,
Hmm.
I'll just get back to it.
Yes, yes, the bursts of energy were great when they came. So, we were in Waikiki in 2013. It was less than a year after my two bleeds in the brain.
Oh,
And and I remember telling my wife, "You're don't plan anything for me tomorrow because if I feel like the way I'm feeling today, I can't do anything tomorrow. You take the
right.
kids,
Mhm.
you guys go for a walk, find something that it's going to be fun to do, along maybe
I'm
Waikiki
just gonna
Beach.
rest.
Yeah, I can't do it." And then I would wake up in the morning feeling amazing, having one of those bursts of energy, and forget everything I said yesterday. We're on. Let's go and do some stuff.
Right. And I think that for me, looking back at it and listening to that, like I think I need to kind of explain that to people because they don't, quite get it. Like,
Mm.
oh, I'm great, I'm great. And then, an hour later, it's not me, but so my question to you is,
Mm.
will it ever get better?
That's a good question. And I like to be a little bit the opposite of doctors, and I'd like to create possibilities for people and give them hope
Oh,
and say things like, yeah, absolutely, it can get better because you
mhm.
are so early in your recovery. And my recovery has been going for 10 years, and I'm still having bad days that are stroke related. You know how sometimes before the stroke you had bad days and you could just, have a rest, and you went too hard or for too long and you just write
Right,
it off as, okay, I'm going to do nothing tomorrow. I'm just going to flake out somewhere. Well,
right,
it's it's like that, but the stroke complicates those days and makes them harder than they used to
right,
be. And
right.
I still find myself in that situation, but less and less. So it's not as common as it used to be for me to be able to blame how I'm feeling on the stroke, the brain surgery, the brain damage, all that stuff. It's less
Mhm.
common that I do that. And therefore, what I'm offering people is hope. And what I try and say to people, especially the ones who I'm coaching who have real big goals that always let them, that seem to let themselves down, is
Uh-huh.
1 year post stroke is like you just walked past the coffee table and smashed your foot on the corner of the leg. It's like it it's that soon. It's so early in the recovery. And
Mhm.
the next day you realize, oh my gosh, my foot still hurts and I'm going to go and get it
Mhm.
checked out. And then you get it checked out and then it's fractured and the doctor says 6 weeks and the fracture will have healed and it'll be better. Stay off it and
Right,
rest, right?
right.
Stroke doesn't have a timeline. That's the thing with it.
Mhm.
And if you damage your foot or toe and I damaged my toe, they do give us the same timeline. Doesn't matter how different we are as people.
Right. Right.
They give us the same. 6 weeks, the bone will heal. Everything will be back to normal. Stroke is completely unique, and no
It
one
just,
has.
yeah, I was on one of the Facebook groups, and some, I always, kind of start my day, and I'll, kind of read and see what people are posting. And
Mm,
someone said that um, I had my stroke, I think 10 years ago is what they said. And then they
mm,
said, I just got feeling in my hand. And I was
okay.
just like, wow, after 10 years. So you're right. Like it's on its own time.
It
But
is so, it's so strange, and it's so hard to tell people that don't
mhm,
give up on having a new experience or something come back 10, 20, whatever years away. But it
right,
does require some work. We have to look after ourselves and look after our
right.
health, and we have to avoid smoking. We have to avoid drinking if we can. And we have to
Mhm,
avoid a whole bunch of things so that we can create the right environment
right,
for the healing to continue to occur. You know how some people smoke and drink excessively all the time and forever? They're always creating the environment for health to decrease and things to get worse. We need to do the
right,
opposite. We need to make space for the brain to flourish.
right, right. That is really, true. And I've been learning, so yeah. So I did have a question. So
Hmm.
I know that, I've talked about relationships, and I, for those relationships and friendships that I've, that have kind of suffered, how do I, or what or what do you recommend, or what have you done to kind of, like, revisit them? Like, 'cause I don't want to lose, you know, my friendships that I've built, you know, for 10 plus years, or I don't even want to,
Hmm.
not talk to, my family members, So how do I,
I just
kind of go from there?
I just got good at making appointments to see people and say, hey, I know things have been a bit strange or weird at the moment between us, but I'd love to come
Hmm.
and see you or at least talk to you on the phone and just
Right.
explain myself. If not in those words, you might have different words, but it's like, let me explain myself and why I was that way. And one of the other things I really did was I made it. This podcast is for all the people that misunderstand stroke survivors.
Mm,
It's for the purpose of trying to explain the unexplainable in stories.
education.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then what I hope is that some of my people who I've interviewed can go, listen to my interview with Bill, because this will explain a little bit about what I've been through and what my journey is. And it'll tell you things that I can't put in words or don't know how to put in words. But
Hmm.
we covered these topics and we spoke about you, not in your, we didn't mention your name or anything, but we spoke about you and the issue that we had in the podcast. So maybe that will help you understand. And you just reach
Correct.
out to them from your heart and you just
Okay.
explain to them it's not personal. And you've had 12 months of healing. So now you can
Mhm.
reflect on the problem
Exactly.
and the
Exactly.
challenge that you caused and created. And now you can say, I see where I went wrong, and I just want you
Hmm.
to know it wasn't personal. It was my brain just being muddled up and rewiring.
Well, do you know why? Because I went through a phase of being, like, I went through like a upset, angry, sad
Mm.
phase. Like, why? Do you know why that kind of happens?
Yeah, well, a lot of stroke survivors say that they have kind of a similar response where they have a real deep depressive sort of stage. And a lot of the times it's actually caused by the nervous system being out of alignment and not being able to come back into balance in harmony. And
Hmm.
sometimes you've heard of people who are bipolar, for example, whose nervous
Right.
system makes them feel very, very happy at one point and then very, very low at another point. And
Exactly. Mhm.
they're always trying to get back to balance, or always trying to get back to balance. Well, after a stroke, the damage is throws out the balance, and then you have to find a way to get back there, and the body's readjusting and trying to get you back there on its own, just through the healing
Mhm.
process. And we also might be dealing with the difficulty of learning about we are mortal now. We might be dealing with the difficulty of learning I am not independent anymore. I can't do the
Mhm.
things I used to do. Some
Right.
people will be concerned about not being able to pay the bills, the rent, the food, and
Exactly.
and then they come back from the hospital with, hospital bills and all that. So
All these new norms,
all
like.
these new things that they didn't have to
Mhm.
deal with before, and they may not have the skills to deal with it. And it's difficult because not only is it difficult because they're dealing from stroke recovery, it's difficult
Mhm.
because they have all these extra problems that they never had
For sure. Yeah.
before the stroke. So
Mhm.
it gets people down. Their mood, gets impacted. And then,
'Cause I know that I spent probably the last part of last year to the first part of this year really depressed, like really like in a dark space,
mm,
and like I've been climbing my way and working on getting out of that. And I'm currently still um in PT and
yeah,
OT,
great.
and I'm going to keep going to that for as long as I can, and until my insurance says you've had enough. No, because there's like I still want this to work, and I still want, you know, I still want to be able to walk. Like, for example, like my leg is fine, I can walk, but then there's like certain days when I wake up and it's hard for me to walk, like around my leg, the lower part of my leg, it's
Yeah,
really tight and it's,
yeah.
and then I can't wear flip flops on my right foot because
Mhm.
my leg doesn't have the control. So until and I can't write, with this right hand. So until I can get those things back, I'm gonna still go to therapy for it.
Yeah, I think you should. And the other thing is, some people are not as happy-go-lucky as others. Some people have just a habit of having a mindset that thinks about the negatives. And if you have
Hmm.
that type of habit and you have a stroke, like, it's possible for you to start thinking of all
Yeah,
the
go
negative things that come
deeper.
from that. And
Mhm.
it takes you a bit lower down, right? So mindset is really important. And what
So
you seem to me like is you seem like you're happy-go-lucky most of the time. And
yeah,
now you're thinking about things that you're going to go after to get back to recover from, you know?
that is that's exactly true. And one of the things that I'm getting back to would be, like I said, work.
Oh,
But number one is travel. So one of my friends, I want to say thank you to her. Like, she's been an angel with taking me to the grocery store, doctor's appointments, and then for my birthday, which is in August, we're going to see Beyonce next this month.
how
So
cool.
I'm traveling again. So like I'm slowly getting there back to traveling and going to concerts and working soon, and
Yeah.
like my mood is great. So I like to think that I'm almost there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Why not think that you're almost there instead of so far away? It
Yeah.
doesn't help, right? It doesn't help
No,
to
it
think
doesn't
that,
help.
oh my gosh,
No,
I'm
it's
so
gonna
far
just
away.
make everything worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about
Mhm.
you're almost there. And if you're not there, just keep going
Yeah.
toward the place that you want to be. And that does help. Like, mindset is plays a massive role in in your recovery. And you know what also plays a massive role is gratitude. Now, I'm not
Mhm.
saying that you can be, I'm not saying that you have to be grateful for everything the stroke has caused or done, because some of those things are not amazing. But
Right.
you can be grateful for what you have and what you've been able to achieve and what you've been able to overcome, and what you've learned about yourself and the new skills that you've acquired that you need. So
Mhm.
it's really important that people practice gratitude in spite of their suffering, so that they
Mhm.
can find a way to look at, is there a silver lining in this bloody thing that happened to me, you know? Um,
Right.
and there might be. Now, you already talked about the silver linings. Your friends are amazing. They helped out. You know, uh, your being able to get back on your feet. You appreciate what other people are going through that you couldn't appreciate before.
Mhm.
You're more empathetic, you know. Uh, you've had you've found new ways to solve your problems. Instead of living alone, now you live with another two people to bring down your costs. So it's a bit easier.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can be grateful for,
Yeah.
and that you've worked on and that you've overcome. And if you look for solutions to problems, you get solutions. If you look for problems, you'll get more problems.
Yeah. That's, like I've just been, like I said, clawing I feel like I've been in such a deep, dark place, and I'm just clawing my way out to get to the top. And I see the light, and I'm not gonna stop till I,
Yeah.
get get to the light. So yeah, I'm looking back over it. I'm thankful for, what I've been through, and how far I've become, because the doctors said that, oh, I'll never do this, I'll never do that, and I'm proving them wrong, and I'm just so thankful for everyone's prayers and thoughts, and like I'm you know, I'm still here, and
Yeah.
I ain't going nowhere.
There's a lot of blessings there.
A lot of blessings. Yep.
Yeah. Did you go through that process of, having, do you separate like the emotional and mental health side of it? Did you have any of those thoughts? Did you do the, oh my gosh, I'm mortal, or were you already aware of that? Like, how did you navigate that part of it?
Yep. I think it was hard because I'm so used to being independent, like, buying everything I need, and just not asking for help.
Mm,
So that part of having to always ask, it's like I'm still not, like, for example, not driving yet. I'm almost there.
mhm.
Hopefully, by the end of the summer I'll be back, but it's tough, like having to, do you mind taking me? Or just, because I don't want to be a burden to people. So
Mm.
that part is still, rough for me to ask,
Yeah.
but I have people that really don't mind. I just have to ask. But
Yeah.
it's taught me a lot to, appreciate.
If there's some people that are listening who are not stroke survivors, I'd like to encourage them also to feel comfortable saying, no, I can't help today,
Mhm.
and not feel like it's necessary to always say yes to a stroke survivor who asks for help,
Right,
because
right,
nobody's making you do it, and they're just asking. And if it's not
right.
possible, there might be another
Yeah.
way to solve that problem. But hopefully nobody feels the obligation one way or another. Hopefully it's just a legitimate conversation. Hey, any chance I can get a lift? No, no, not today because I can't. Well, that's it. Hopefully there's no guilt
Mhm.
associated with that or anything else.
So I wanted to ask you something, and so I had I would consider this person really close friend of mine. They came to the hospital and sat there, and when I was in the hospital, it was in and out. So I don't remember a whole lot of things, but I do remember that this person, sat on the bed and in tears and said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to, we're going to work out. We're going to eat healthy. I'm going to get you back. And, I reached out to this person. I'm like, hey, I got some extra, exercises when you have time. Can you help me? I'm not saying, twice a week or just whenever you have time. And this person told me, no, they couldn't do it right now. There would have to be, a couple of months, and then this person, so since then, this person and we have not communicated. And, he um, came to say hi to me at my house one day. And then it was just that day when I was, not in the best of moods. And I just wanted nothing to do with the conversation. And we haven't talked since then. So my challenge is to, like, how would I, you know, recreate, a space that says, hey, I'm back, or I don't know how to do that. Because for me, I was hurt because, I got this goal, like, I'm gonna, get better because I have you helping me. And then when I, try to use that and you turn me down, it destroyed me.
Yeah.
So how would I kind of, recover from that?
In emotional situations like seeing a friend that you love in a hospital bed, people often say things they often overpromise, and then
Mm,
they don't really have the skills to deliver. And it might be
mm,
emotional skills or psychological skills or
mhm.
physical skills. And what they do is they sort of step back. And when he came to visit you, he might have again misunderstood what is actually going on with you when you're having a really low day, a really fatigued day, and your mood isn't the best. And he may think that it was personal, that you were taking it out on him because of how he didn't
It
behave
wasn't personal.
appropriately. Yeah, right. Okay. So this is the thing, right? So all you need to do is, I reckon, create a meeting over lunch or something like that at a neutral location. When I say neutral, it's just a lovely place outdoors that
Right,
you guys love to hang out at, and just go there and
right.
go, hey, let me buy you lunch. That's it. And just start with that and just say, listen, let me buy you lunch. And right at the beginning, let me just tell you about how I was and what I thought. And now I'm understanding things differently, and I've come to have an awareness. And I'm sorry if I misunderstood or treated you harshly. And then let them say their part, because I bet you they'll be feeling the same thing, and someone
Right,
is waiting to make the first move to smooth things over,
right.
And I think
Mhm.
if you just do it at a mutual venue, at a neutral venue where you guys both love hanging
Level
out,
playing field. Yeah.
and it's over a light lunch or something like that, I think it'll go really well. And you just create the expectation. I'm going to be here for lunch one of these days. Which day suits you best, to make sure that it's really
Right.
comfortable for everybody?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just reach
That
out. You got
that
nothing to lose.
nope. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
And
great
when you
advice.
do that,
Thank you.
what's important for that, Melvin, when stroke survivors do reach out, that really helps healing the brain. If you can get the emotional healing and all of that stuff off your shoulders, it creates
Mm,
space for healing the brain. It allows the energy to go somewhere else. And then you don't have
okay.
to worry about all of this additional energy that you need to allocate to healing friendships and
Right.
relationships. You can do those, get them done, and then move on to healing yourself.
Hmm. I like that, healing the brain, because I feel that, I have been doing it, and I feel like there's 2 or 3 people that I want to, kind of have that conversation and kind of smooth it out. And then once I do those 3, I think I will be, better because it's bothers me, that I
Mhm.
don't have, those people I would call every day, or send a meme to you on Instagram,
There you go.
so
There you go. Yeah.
or have a, go out to eat with, so I will definitely do that soon.
Yeah. There you go. So if it bothers you, then it's getting in the way of your energy, and it's down, and it's decreasing your battery for the day. If you're thinking
Mhm.
about it and you're being bothered by it, that's
It's
not,
wearing you down.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
creating the right environment for healing the brain. It,
Mhm.
the thing about stroke recovery people don't realize sometimes, and it makes sense that you could miss it, is that it's the emotional recovery is really important. The mental health recovery is really important. And then the physical recovery is really important. And they all have to happen. You can't just do, I'm going to get back to walking again and then never talk to anybody for the rest of your life. You
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
that. And you can't just
Mhm.
neglect your walking and then just have a really good mental health state if you never decide to go after your walking, and to get
All
mobile,
together.
right? They're
Mhm.
all linked. If you do one, it benefits the others, and they are
Mhm.
all necessary. So that's why healing relationships and at least doing your part so that you've done your bit. If they choose not to reciprocate and not turn up to lunch, then you have to give them love and just let that person make their own uh, decision in life.
Mhm.
And you have to be okay with it. It might be difficult at the time, but eventually you have to be okay with it and let them go. I think what I learned was when I did the reaching out and healed my relationships, the ones that I had messed up a little, I felt better about making the effort, and then I
Right.
just left the other person
Left it
to
in their hands.
do their thing, what they needed to do in their own
Right.
time. So I don't put what's the word, unnecessary pressure on that and
Pressure.
force them into something.
Well, that makes sense because they have to, kind of heal on their own. And that's what I, have been struggling with because I'm like, well, shoot, I don't even remember what I said or what happened,
Mm,
you know. But hopefully I'll share this with them when it airs and then they'll be, a little more okay with that. So
yeah, it might help. It definitely might help. Hey, I want to really thank you for making such a massive effort to get on the podcast and
I thank you so
rescheduling
much.
and rescheduling and rescheduling again, and being okay with the fact that you missed a couple of appointments. No big deal, no harm done. And here we are. So perseverance is really important in recovery.
Right,
And you've
right.
I really want to thank you for persevering and joining me on the show.
Thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode. To learn more about my guests, including links to their social media and other pages, and to download a full transcript of the entire interview, please go to recoveryafterstroke.com/episodes. If you would like to support this podcast, the best way to do it is to leave a 5-star review and a few words about what the show means to you on iTunes and Spotify. If you are watching on YouTube, comment below the video. I love receiving comments and I respond to all people who comment. Like this episode, and to get notifications of future episodes, subscribe to the show on the platform of your choice. Now, if you are a stroke survivor with a story to share about your experience, come and join me on the show. The interviews are not scripted. You do not have to plan for them. All you need to do to qualify is be a stroke survivor or care for someone who is a stroke survivor, or you work with stroke survivors. Go to recoveryafterstroke.com/contact, fill out the form, and as soon as I receive your request, I will respond with more details on how you can choose a time that works for you and me to meet over Zoom. Thanks again for being here and listening. I really appreciate you. See you on the next episode.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.